Hi there, I'm Kent Golden, a resident here in Woodbridge, Connecticut, and a member of the Sustainability Committee here in town. Today we're going to take a look at EVs, electric vehicles, specifically an all-electric Tesla. And I'm hoping to give you a good overview of what it's like to own an electric vehicle in our area, why they are better than traditional gas-powered cars in many ways, and why you should consider upgrading to one with your next vehicle.
So this is my car, an all-electric Tesla Model 3 Performance. I bought it in 2018 and have absolutely loved owning it. To sum up the experience of going from an internal combustion car to an all-electric Tesla, it's like upgrading from a flip phone to a smartphone. Ask any Tesla owner and they will probably tell you the same thing. Well, why is that? Well, here are some quick facts about this car in particular. First up, it gets over 320 miles per charge. That's from here to Washington, D.C. in one go. It costs about $8 to $10 to charge up from empty to full, so the average driver saves about $1,000 per year just in gas. It has virtually no maintenance required, no oil changes, and it was more reliable than internal combustion engines. It's quiet and comfortable for commuting and cruising, and it has lots of trunk space. And this car goes from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.2 seconds. That's supercar territory, about the same as a Ferrari F12 Berlinetta. It can also drive itself. It has Netflix. Video games. And some fun stuff built right in.
The snow glows white on the mountain tonight.
And it literally gets better every few weeks with free software updates. And it's much better for the environment. It has no tailpipe, and we can charge this up with electricity that has been generated from solar power, hydropower, and wind power. The Tesla Model 3 was Tesla's answer to a more affordable electric car, starting at just $35,000 for the base model, and it has become a more attainable goal for many. With rebates and incentives from the government, you can lower that price even more. Though to be fair, that price can also go up quite a bit if you add on extras like a dual motor setup, which is great for the winters in Connecticut. You can get a bigger battery, you can get an upgraded interior, and you can get other features like self-driving. But even still, you can get a Model 3 like this one maxed out with all of the added trimmings at about the same price as a base model Model S. So that's a bargain in my book. And I also like the slightly smaller size as compared to the Model S. So let's take a look at it, starting with the driving experience. Let's jump in quick. Notice that there's no keyhole on the outside. My phone is actually what I'm using for the key right now. As long as I have my phone on me, the car is available to me. To open up the door, you push on this larger part and then pull on the other end. This design is simple and allows for a sleek exterior with less wind resistance. And the first thing I tell people when they get in is to look up. It's not readily apparent from the outside, but the entire roof of this car is this beautiful glass panel, and it really makes it feel so spacious in here. Is it hard to drive? Nope. As long as you've got that authorized phone in your pocket, you don't even need to turn a key or push a button to start. You just jump in and you got two pedals, one to speed up, one to slow down. To put it into gear, you put your foot on the brake, and then you use this stalk to choose your gear. You go down to drive, up to back up, with a nice big backup camera with wheel lines and everything, and push to park, and you can hear the brakes actually squeezing the discs. As you're driving, you have a bunch of nice features, including automatic wipers, high beams that automatically dim when there's oncoming traffic, and lots of audio options. And that's it for regular driving. It's quiet, it's comfortable, it has space for 5 adults, lots of cup holders and internal storage, and some niceties like phone charging and USB ports built right in. But let's talk about performance. The big selling point for me in this car is the performance. Now, EVs in general have a lot of torque and low-end power that allows them to get going really quickly and make them really fun to drive. Some people think that electric cars are slow or boring, and that is definitely not true. This Tesla Performance Model 3 does 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds, but even the other versions are surprisingly quick. The rear-wheel drive base model does a respectable 0 to 60 run in 5.3 seconds, while the dual-motor all-wheel drive long-range version does 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. To put that into context, that's as fast as a Lamborghini Diablo. All this instant power makes for such a fun driving experience. Have you ever dreaded getting on the Merritt Parkway from one of those on-ramps that has a stop sign instead of a merge? No problem in this car. Give it a quick press to the floor and you're just slammed back into your seat with ferocious acceleration. Self-driving. Can it really drive itself? This car uses 8 cameras, forward-facing radar, and 12 ultrasonic sensors to detect everything around it. It detects cars, trucks, buses, motorcycles, pedestrians, bikes, even traffic cones and garbage bins. This helps for things like accident avoidance, but it also allows it to literally drive itself. Here's a demo. Now this might freak some people out. I know I was a bit nervous at first when I tried it, but in its current form, the driver should still be paying attention and ready to take over at any time. Now, considering that we humans have 2 somewhat imperfect cameras run by an easily distracted brain, it makes sense that a computer constantly scanning all around the car with 8 cameras and all these sensors can probably do a better job in many ways. Now, Tesla is working on making this car completely autonomous, which means that it can drive itself even without a person in it, but that isn't available just yet. I love driving, so I don't usually use the self-driving all that often, but it's actually great for long road trips, and it's also great for stop-and-go, bumper-to-bumper traffic. And it also has auto park, where it can park itself, and something called summon, where you can have the car come to you. More on that in a bit. Back to the interior. Apart from the glass roof, the white interior also gives it a futuristic vibe that I really like. You can get black, of course, if you prefer that, but I really love this white. Now, many people are afraid that the white interior would be difficult to keep clean, but apparently Tesla has used some magical material that repels stains really well. There are videos of people pouring ketchup and coffee right on these seats, and it just wipes right off. One other note about the interior, it's vegan leather, meaning that no animals had to be killed and skinned to make these seats, and that's obviously much better for the animals. So bravo to Tesla for making a premium car without cow leather in the seats. They feel great too, nice and soft. This also has heated seats on every seat, including even the middle back seat, and they get really hot if you crank them up. My wife loves these. The air system is really innovative. Instead of having those annoying little plastic diverters in your dash, this car actually uses 2 streams of air to deflect the airflow exactly where you want it, and you control it here on the touchscreen. A bonus about this interior too is the fact that you can drop the back seats and have more storage or a relatively flat sleeping area, perfect for camping during a road trip and sleeping out under the stars in comfort. Tesla has even created what they call camping mode, so that you can sleep with the heat or AC on for a night or 2 and still have enough charge to drive. You can play music, watch Netflix, and play games too. More on that later. Up front, you'll notice that the design is very minimalistic. You do almost everything through this massive touchscreen, which works just like an iPad or a tablet. And this map is incredible. No more trying to look at your tiny phone or a GPS screen. It's all right here in super high resolution on a responsive screen. Going on a road trip? You put in your destination here and will not only give you directions, but it'll also tell you how much charge it will use, and it'll give you a suggestion for charging if you're going on a really long trip. And that brings us to range. Some people are afraid of what's called range anxiety in an all-electric car, which means that you won't be able to make it to your destination because you've run out of battery juice. But I have to tell you that this hasn't been a problem for us in our Tesla, not one bit. First off, this car gets over 320 miles of range on a single charge. In theory, that's from here to Washington, D.C. nonstop. Now I commute only a few times over on a daily basis, so I never have to look for a charging location on a day-to-day basis. Never. That's probably true for the vast majority of drivers out there. I get home at the end of the day, I plug in the car at night just like you do with your cell phone, and then I have up to 325 miles ready to go in the morning. No more gas stations. That's especially handy when it's 2 degrees outside, raining, or during a pandemic. And our electricity is 100% green from solar and hydropower, so there are 0 running emissions from this car. Now that 325 miles of range is under perfect conditions, but in real-world conditions, where you're running the heated seats and the cabin heater, maybe you're driving in a more spirited manner, well, of course, that can get cut way down. But still, we're talking about at least 200 miles before you would have to stop. And if you're going on a long road trip, well, you're going to be stopping every now and then to stretch and get some food and such anyway. Let's say I'm going on a long road trip to Florida. I put in my destination, and the screen tells me where to stop, for how long, and what amenities there are at each supercharger location. Typically, a charge from 25% up to about 80% on a supercharger takes about 15 minutes, which is totally reasonable when you need a break for food and a stretch on a long trip. And keep in mind, you only have to do that on a long road trip, never on a day-to-day basis if you have charging at home. There are over 16,000 superchargers in the US today. And our town of Woodbridge has even put in a few free chargers that EV drivers can use if you need it. What if you're on that long road trip and you're not hungry, or you don't want to get out while you're supercharging because it's raining or something? Well, it's no problem. This infotainment system has so many bells and whistles built in, it could keep you and your kids entertained for days. Netflix. Boom. Watch a movie with amazing surround sound and comfy seats. Or how about some video games? You could either play it with the built-in touchscreen or even a steering wheel when it's in park for a racing game.
So cool.
Or plug in some game controllers and get a true gaming experience. There are some classics in here like Asteroids and Centipede, as well as more modern games like Cuphead and this farm game. Do you have a kid or an adult in the family who likes a good laugh? Well, try the whoopee cushion mode to make fart sounds come out of each of the different speakers. There are some other fun things like campfire mode, which puts a fire on the screen here, it blasts the heat, and it plays some romantic music. Or you could draw a picture, or make some music. And Tesla is releasing new and fun things all the time. It's kind of nice that they have a real sense of humor. Unlike every other car that I've owned where you buy it as is, and that's as good as it gets, unless you buy an aftermarket upgrade or something like that, this car is literally getting better all the time. It has its own internet connection and can hop on your Wi-Fi too for downloads and upgrades. Also getting updated all the time is the app. This gives you all kinds of control over your car. You can find out exactly where it is, how fast it's going, if any of the doors are open, and even close the windows remotely if it starts raining or something. One of my favorite features from the app is the ability to preheat or pre-cool the interior. From the app, you can heat up or cool down the car in advance, even if it's sitting in your garage, something you just cannot do with an internal combustion car without literally risking your life from the exhaust gases. You can also schedule service right from the app and get roadside assistance if you need it. But one of the coolest features from the app is what's called Smart Summon. You can literally make the car come to you from the other end of the parking lot. That's great if it's pouring rain, or you're carrying something heavy, or you have some mobility issues. Let's talk about some great security features. My favorite is what's called Tesla Cam, which is basically a dash cam recorder that uses 4 of the 8 total cameras to record everything around your car. If you get into an accident or something, you can have video evidence of what actually happened. And those cameras are pretty useful when you aren't driving too. Tesla has what's called Sentry mode, which means that those cameras start rolling if anyone walks up to your car. If your car gets broken into or damaged in a parking lot or something, again, you have some video evidence that you can provide to the police, including often license plates and the faces of the guilty party. It's also kind of fun to see how people interact with your car when you're not around. Yes, random woman in the parking lot, I saw you trying to open my door. One last feature that's not only fun but potentially life-saving is what's called dog mode. We all know that you're not supposed to leave an animal in a hot car, so Tesla has made this feature that keeps your furry friend comfortable and safe. You can set whatever temperature you want, you can monitor it from the app, and the screen lets passerbys know that all is well. In fact, they're probably more comfortable than anyone outside. Are electric cars safe? Absolutely. In fact, they are safer than their gasoline counterparts. Why? Well, it's not just because EVs don't use gasoline, which is flammable and explosive and causes cancer if you breathe it in, but because of the entire layout of EVs. In a traditional car, you have a big engine block right here in front of the passengers. And if you get into a front-end collision, that engine block wants to come into the passenger compartment and squish any occupants in there. In an EV, the electric motors are much smaller. They're about the size of a watermelon, and they're down low and out of the way. So the entire front end of the car can then be designed as a crumple zone to absorb an impact. The batteries of the car are also pretty heavy, and they're mounted way down low at the bottom of the car, which means that the car has a very low center of gravity and resists rollover crashes better than any other kind of car. It also has a ton of technology to avoid accidents in the first place, including emergency braking, obstacle detection, lane departure warnings and emergency takeover, stability and traction control, and of course, a ton of airbags. This model is all-wheel drive with dual motors, meaning one electric motor up front and one in the back, so traction and handling in Connecticut in the winters is excellent. A huge selling point of EVs is that they are much less complicated in terms of the mechanical parts that make them work. There's no oil changes, there's no radiator fluid, there's no belts, there's no pulleys, there's no valves or exhaust systems, there's none of that stuff that can go wrong with an internal combustion engine. In an internal combustion engine, you have hundreds of moving parts, and every one of them has the potential to fail. It's just a matter of time, really. In an EV motor, there is just one moving part, and that's the rotor. So what maintenance is there on EVs? Typically, it's wiper blades, washer fluid, and tires. Every few years, you get your brake fluid checked. That's really it. Imagine never having to spend time and money on gas or another oil change. That's what you get with an EV. So how do you buy an EV? For most companies, they still have their dealer networks, so you just go to a showroom, talk to a salesperson, and buy it like any other car. Just make sure that you let them know that you want an electric car. How about buying a Tesla? Well, the easiest way is to go online to their website. You spec out the options you want, and that's it. You pick up your car in a couple of weeks, or they can deliver it to you. It's very handy in a pandemic. Well, what if you want to check out a Tesla in person first? Currently, you can check out the cars in their Milford showroom for leasing options, but not for purchasing. Another way to learn about Teslas is to find an owner like me or someone else who will let you check out their car. Honestly, it's such a great product that many of us are happy to share our experiences. So reach out to some owners, check out some various Tesla clubs and the Facebook groups to learn some more. And of course, there are other models of Teslas available, including the new Model Y, which is a hatchback crossover. Or there is the larger Model S, the Model X SUV with cool falcon wing doors, or the Cybertruck, which should be coming out soon.
So that's it. I thank you for taking the time to learn about EVs, and I hope that you found this video informative. One thing that I ask is if you are going to purchase a Tesla, you might as well use this referral code. That way you get some free supercharger miles, and I get some as well. So thank you if you do that. Or if you aren't in the market for a car at the moment, but you found this video useful and you want to do something for the planet, I invite you to check out my book. This is Ricky the Time-Traveling Trash Panda.
It's about a raccoon sent from the future to save humanity and the planet from an impending environmental disaster. It's a fun read with a solid message about compassion for animals and proper stewardship of our planet.
And a little spoiler, there's a scene in here where Ricky the raccoon gets to drive this Tesla. Check out the book to see how that turns out. Stay safe, everyone, and make good choices for yourself and the planet. Thanks for watching, and take care.